Right, welcome back everyone to the channel. This video starts with an apology. I haven't had a video out for ages. The schedule has been ridiculous with DriftMasters and everything. So Mondello was last weekend, round 3. And what you're about to watch was before that on the Dyno, before round 1 even, obviously, on the Dyno. So yeah, it's been hectic, and I will get these videos out as soon as I can, get us right up to date before we head to Finland round 4. So bear with me, please. I know we're going back in time a little bit, but I hope you guys enjoy it anyway. You're about to see what happened on the Dyno around a very stressful time before round 1. But yeah, please stay with me and enjoy, and I'll get us right up to date very shortly. Right guys, it is Sunday night. The workshop is completely wrote off. The Supra is here in all its glory. We've been to the Dyno twice this week, unfortunately, and it all has been positive. There's no major dramas. We just weren't happy leaving the Dyno on Monday. Now we made 911 horsepower, and just goes to show you can be unhappy leaving the Dyno with 911 horsepower. But everything went fine. As you can see, we had a issue with a frost plug on the intake side. Don't know what's going on there. The block, or the frost plug, well, the block it seems is not happy in that area. We use used blocks always. We don't use new ones. Never had a frost plug issue before, but we have now. And on the Dyno, we made that quick little piece to keep it pushed in, and that worked. And now it's been back here. We made a much nicer piece that keeps pressure on that one, which is really strange, but has to be done. And we were on the Dyno again yesterday, and everything was fine. Very strange one, very disappointing, but whatever, no big deal, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. That was the only one issue we had on the Dyno Monday. That was it. Everything else, like clockwork, perfect. Not a problem. So that was a tricky one, and some of the guys got a bit scared when there was a load of steam. But all is good. It's been a long week, especially prepping to go to the Dyno twice. So let me show you why we did that. And yeah, we have one more day tomorrow to finish everything we want to finish, which is not going to be possible. Get all the spares packaged together and everything. It's just not going to be possible. So see how that goes. We're supposed to be testing Tuesday morning, and after that we don't see the car again until we get to Italy. So not looking forward to how that's going to go tomorrow. But let me show you some of the things from the Dyno and what we did and why we did it. Right, so the reason we went back to the Dyno a second time was for response. Now the whole point of this was to make the car have as much response as possible. That's why the compression ratio is slightly up, blah blah blah. And when we dynoed it, it was just a little bit lazy, and that's not what we wanted. So we decided to come back and make some changes. So talking to Lloyd on the Dyno about the laziness, that's Lloyd Patterson, he came up with the theory that it was due to the single wastegate, the big single wastegate, so that the exhaust gas pressure was keeping the wastegate slightly open, and then the turbo was having to work really hard as it wasn't getting all the energy into it from the exhaust gas. Some of it was bleeding off by the wastegate, which is its job, but we didn't want it to be open at that point, and we couldn't keep it closed with the boost control valve. So I had already expressed that the exhaust manifold was like, I wanted to inspect this prior to Mondello, which is round 3, and because I welded up a lot of cracks in it, not a lot, but a few, and yeah, we wanted to do that. Now, you know, given the time frame we had and all the 3D printed intake parts and all that, charge pipes, we ran with this manifold. It's not in terrible condition by all means, but I wanted to check it, and I told Dave that this was its last season for sure, that manifold. Then we decided, based off of Lloyd's advice, to go twin wastegate, and that meant either modifying this manifold or just doing it right once. And that's what we do here, right once. So let's take a look at this one and the new one. So here is what was on the car. You see T4 twin scroll is what was on it, and it had 2 wastegate pipes coming out of it, and they're merged into one big single gate. And you can see from in here that I had some welding of little cracks and stuff, which just ends up happening. Manifolds, you know, always over time, a lot of heat cycling going on. And yeah, we decided, okay, we can cut these and make them into 2 gates instead of 1, and then possibly a couple of months down the road replace the whole lot, and it just didn't make sense, did it? So we decided to replace it totally with a Walton T4 twin scroll with the billet collector, and then we go to 2 40mm wastegates. Right, so here is the new turbo position. So it is slightly further forward on this Walton, I forget what type, does type A, type B, but this is the one that's further forward. And luckily we managed to get everything fabricated reusing the charge pipe here. We did have to modify the end of the turbo here, of the compressor, to line it up. So that had to be modified there. And then of course the downpipe had to be added to. As you see, this piece here wasn't there before. So that had to be added to, and I think this piece had to be added as well. So the downpipe is no longer because the turbo is further forward. And you can see 1 40mm gate sticking up here, and the second one is down there, and they're all teed in, AN3 lines, all new lines, manifold, some bins in schedule 10 to get out to the gates, but it was well worth it. The car is now more responsive than it has ever been, so great success. And the last thing left, I think, is a new turbo. So this turbo is a couple of seasons old, and I think a new one is going to be a little bit more efficient, so should increase the response even further. So pretty happy now. It had to be done, well worth it. My God, it was a silly amount of time gone into it in the space of a week. 2 trips to the dyno as well. But it's worth it. The response is way up now. It's now more responsive than it's ever been, and this is what we set out to do. So quite happy that we did it. We must get this intake pipe sorted, hopefully. As I said, we're running out of time, and yeah, it's now future proofed. Manifold, brand new Walton manifold is my favorite, so that's gone in there. 2 new 40mm gates, 2 new screamer pipes obviously underneath, and yeah, something that was going to have to be changed is now changed, and yeah, it's the best it can be. Basically, there's a new turbo coming shortly, and that's going to go on, and then we have everything done. One thing on our charge pipes and intercooler setup, outstanding performance on the Dyno. We saw like 30 degrees Celsius here. There's the IAT sensor. We saw 30 degrees Celsius at the end of the run, and regular temp was like 24 Celsius. It was actually the lowest that I've ever seen, and that's at like 2 to 2.2 bar on the turbo, which is a lot of boost and a lot of air crammed together, generating heat. This is performing excellently. New brakes have arrived, so I'll try to do something on them at some point. We are replacing what's in it, and of course I have chosen different compounds than what was on the car, because yeah, just keep up with the old team of just changing everything. So hopefully I'll get a chance to go through them at some point. So car looks really cool, I have to say. Another thing you'll see, it was nice to get some information on the anti-squat on the Dyno. So you can see the car squatting, but we can actually see in the telemetry the car squatting, and we know exactly how much it squatted on the Dyno with the current anti-squat setting. So something I always watch out for is how a car reacts under load on the Dyno. You can kind of tell it's your first time putting the suspension under load like that, so you can tell somewhat if a car is in the ballpark or if it's totally off, etc. So this was squatting quite a bit, but still getting nowhere near the bump stop. The suspension ended up holding the car up and taking the transfer and holding it up. So that was the first thing, one of the things I wanted to notice while it was being dynoed as well. So you're not only looking at this and the dyno graph, which will be up there or whatever, and listening to the engine and listening for all sorts of noises and blah blah blah. You also watch what the rear is doing on the setting you've put it on. So all these little things, you try to take advantage of any opportunity you can. I have to say that you guys have been very complimentary on the comments, and I really appreciate that. Now, I have to give a shout out to the guys here, Ryan and Carlos. We have Newman Demo just started recently. He actually painted the subframe on the back of this. It turned out great. But Ryan and Carlos have been the two guys jamming on this car. Carlos is not here that long really in the grand scheme of things, but is coming on leaps and bounds. Ryan is the head mechanic here and will be traveling with this car to DriftMasters as well. It is basically his baby. He designed the charge system. He designed the adapter for the throttle body. He designed the engine mounts. It's basically his baby. I have input, obviously, and I get the final say or decision or whatever, but he comes up with so many ideas, and I have to give him a shout that it's been, he's done an excellent job on this thing. So many of the things that you guys like in this car, I cannot take credit for. And I'm more than happy for him to do the whole lot of the fucking thing. Yeah, so I have to give a shout out to the crew. We have smashed this one out of the park, in my opinion. And yeah, I felt that was important to say. You guys have been really complimentary and we appreciate it. But I cannot take most of the credit here. It's been the two boys jamming away, and it's been great to see the development of the two boys. They've been so enthusiastic about it. They've put in some hours, overtime, days off, the whole lot. They've come to both dyno sessions out of just pure interest for the vehicle and everything, and it makes a huge difference. So I really needed to mention that. I don't want to take all the credit on YouTube. Last thing I want to do. This channel is about being totally real and honest, and about everything, and that's very important that I'm real and honest about that too. So great job to my guys, and we're also looking forward to it leaving, I have to say, and I think they are too. But that was just important for me to add. Right, So the brakes have been done. And is it just me? Do they look really cool with the solid disc? We'll say with no holes drilled in it. I know it's a vented disc, but it's got no holes in it. So as usual, I seem to be doing things different to almost everyone. So putting all new brakes on this, I decided to go with a non-drilled disc. And I even went with a straight vein vented disc instead of a curved vein. These are really cheap. This is the cheapest option you can go for. Also, I believe that the drift cars really get no temperature into the brakes. So I'm building this to keep temperature or make temperature faster. So in the burnout box or whatever, when you get a chance to warm your tires, this should heat up the operating temperature faster, obviously, since it doesn't have the holes in it and everything for ventilation. Same for the front. All these race car brakes are built for racing, which is totally different demand to drifting. Drifting is very little demand on brakes altogether. In fact, rear brakes are kind of non-existent in drifting. A lot of it is handbrake. You don't want too much rear brake. Now, to help me figure all this out, I have temperature strips on the calipers dated from the brake change, and this will give me the temperature that the calipers are getting to, and from this info I can make a better decision on pad compound. I've already made a pad compound decision. So the foot brake, which is this one, is on the most basic pad you can get from Wilwood, a street pad, very basic, very cheap, because I don't want excellent rear braking performance on the foot brake. I'm not worried about it at all. Also, this has one of the usual master cylinder, we'll say, servo deletes that people seem to be so fond of, and I've never really got one to be nice or happy with. But anyway, it's got one of them, and I can't bleed off enough rear brake, so I'm going to go with the low performance pad, or just a regular pad, I guess we'll call it. The handbrake, I've gone for a racing compound pad that is capable of being with a nice, we'll say, feel all the way up through the temperature range. So it really works with good bite at lower temperatures, and that bite stays consistent all the way up to the high temperature. So it's very expensive pad in here, but the handbrake needs to be consistent all the time. On the front, I've done the same. I think it might even be, I'd have to check, I think it might be around the same compound as the handbrake on the rear. So racing pad up here, and that should give good initial bite, and the bite should stay consistent through the temperature range. Again, of course, put the strips on so I can monitor the temperature, and I can decide from this information if I've chosen the right compound, blah, blah, blah. And again, straight vein. So the veins are just straight in. A curved vein would be the next option, with the veins curved, obviously, which when they rotate, move the air better and cool better. But I'm actually going to try and generate temperature, which is the complete opposite you would ever do for racing brakes, is to try and make them hot. But I think this is the way to go. I think all drift cars should be like this, so you can generate heat in the brakes quickly. The majority of cars that I've seen with racing brakes, the brakes aren't good enough or take too long to warm up in the burnout box or whatever. Or don't warm up at all, take too long to warm up, and you have a different brake feel on your first run to your second or third run or whatever, because you're just getting things working at operating temperature where they're designed to work best. So that's the plan. Once again, totally different to everyone else, but such is my life. But I think it looks really cool, because I've never seen a non-drilled disc on a bell before. It's just something you don't see. So nice. That'll be nice to see if this helps, and we can take all the data and make the best pad choice And yeah, this information helps us out in other customer cars and everything, so more data the better. And on the front you can see just new bumper bar being done, which is very tasty. The old one was done, and then we have a new cold air intake coming out to the opening in the front bumper here. And yeah, that's all ready. So you've got the hand fabrication pie cuts versus the 3D printers. So all pretty sweet. Looks good.